Good day, friends. I hope you're doing really, really well. And this week, I want to really help you be grounded in the reality and almost the fact that there will always be barriers to a person feeling like they can just walk in their own the destiny that was written for them. That I'm just trying to how to word this. Like, it will always feel like there's something that makes this process harder than it should be, unnecessary, all the things. And this is not meant as a discouragement. This is actually meant as this gold nugget of information that you can use to go about the rest of your day in your recovery. So recovery from chronic dieting, not liking your body, restricting, binging, purging, over exercising, staying stuck in trauma responses. I know it's going to feel like there's things that gosh, I feel like there's just something always happening or something holding us back. And it's a reassurance that that's by design. And so when I recognize this, I just speak really personally. But before I do, just those of you who don't know me, my name is Tracy Brown. I am a trauma-trained eating disorder non-diet dietitian. And the heart of our work is around people feeling safer in their own bodies and be able to create some space to where we go beyond head knowledge about what we need to do or what we think we should do, and more about embodying all of it. And so this video, going back to the topic here, is about the reassurance. Like, it's by design that there are barriers that make recovery harder. And when we learn to actually not take it personally, it's almost like nothing can hold you back. And I know that every part of this is hard, so we will never minimize the hardness of it, but there's a reassurance that this is set up this way to not discourage you, but just kind of hold you in place. Okay, so I made a little list of some things that I noticed that are big barriers for the majority of people. And in the rest of this week's videos, we're going to talk about stuckness. We're going to talk about, well, how do we get past our barriers? And I know I've talked about the how-tos in hundreds, if not thousands of videos. If you don't know where those are, you can go to my YouTube channel, just my name with RD after it. There's probably almost a decade of videos that we talk about the how-to. But I just want to do I know it's summertime here in the Northern Hemisphere when I'm talking about this, and summertime is the time that I mostly see people struggle more with a little numbness, some ambivalence, a lot of distraction. So I just want people to recognize, hey, you don't have to be stuck there. You don't have to be stuck in like the next 3 months going by. And you're like, well, what did I do this summer in my recovery? I mean, what happened? Sometimes summer is a good time, or any time of year is a good time for people to live some life and let life teach us some cool stuff. But for some people, the lack of maybe structure keeps people really kind of spinny. Okay, so we're gonna talk about barriers today. And one of the biggest barriers that I find that people do struggle with is, we have our adult selves that know that like part of growing up is being able to like find our people, feel settled in where we know people get us, we belong. But people often really get stuck in the past of wanting to belong the way that diet culture says we should belong. Being able to share diet war stories, or to be able to just fit into those conversations, to look like certain people. And that's a big barrier for a lot of people, no matter what their age, but especially when those times were really tumultuous and we didn't have anybody having our back saying, you don't need to be like that, to be like them, to be okay. Okay, so we can get kind of stuck in that vortex. We'll talk about vortexes on Wednesday, but so a barrier to moving forward would be trying to belong with the dominant cultural ideal. And this is not about rebelling against it for the sake of rebelling. It's like, well, who am I? What do I stand for? And staying with that truth, all right? So that's a barrier. Just being afraid of people's judgment, being afraid of what people think. We often forget sometimes that other people are still just people too, with their own traumas and desire to belong as well, belief systems. that are just based on feelings and opinions, not really based in fact or in values and things like that. I know people really get caught up in what authorities think, like doctors, other healthcare providers. What are, how do people see me? Do they see me as somebody who cares about their health based on what I look like? We really get paralyzed in wanting professionals to see that we're good and not go there and be shamed and criticized. And those are barriers sometimes as well. Let me see here. Just feeling the feelings in general, those are barriers. People sometimes, I've known people go to their grave avoiding grief, avoiding their shame. And it's not like it's their shame, but it's projected on them to make them feel shame. They would rather, and I know it's scary because we don't always know how to ride the wave. We don't always have something to hold on to. This is what these videos are about. This is what one-on-one help and care is about. What group care is about, is to be able to learn how to ride the waves, the feelings, to see that like sometimes things are a lot more anticlimactic than we thought. And we're just so used to avoidance that there's so much anticipatory thoughts and discomfort that when we do the thing that's right for us, eat the food, buy the larger size clothes, whatever, once we do it, we're like, oh, I'm so regret putting that off that as long as I did. I wish I wouldn't have done that. But it's the anticipation based on old traumas and belief systems that gets us stuck. Barriers oftentimes are just like, we don't recognize to like fully change our neurobiology, our belief systems, and we are going to have to dig in to sometimes making, eating mechanically, staying away from diet people, staying away from people that we don't know how to navigate our complicated histories with. We don't always realize how much of a full priority we have to make that. It's not a forever thing. A good example would be, some people, food journaling is not a good thing for them. It just triggers like maybe some obsessive compulsive stuff. But some people, it really would deeply help, and we just avoid it because part of our mind's still thinking that means that we are looking at food journaling from the old lens of diet culture versus the new lens of, hey, this is meant to help me be more observant, to help me be with how I feel, to help me be a compassionate witness to how I feed myself. And when I've done this with people, 95% of the time, people aren't eating as intuitively as they think they are, as with full permission as they think they are. So it's really important to recognize that sometimes we just need to make it like the full-on priority for a certain amount of time, knowing that this isn't a forever thing. Again, we'll go lack of planning and lack of focus. That's just one of those things that like, it's okay if you need to block schedule your time to make sure that you get your food in, that you plan and play, enjoy, because not some of us, AKA me, I'll put myself in that category, aren't always good at like, and I'm getting so much better at knowing how to just be, and we have to practice it, right? And then a couple of things, like some people are still waiting, like I'll do intuitive eating when I lose weight. I'll do intuitive eating when I get my diabetes different, better place. I'll do intermittent fasting first, and then I'll do intuitive eating. I hear that constantly. And it's like, but those are the strategies that got you into this in the first place. So we have to learn how to surrender and let it all go. Like, let things just be for a while until our bodies give us more interoceptive accuracy, meaning, oh, that's true hunger and fullness. Oh, those are my emotions. Oh, we need some practice time. You're not going to get it by trying to control every feeling and all the things, right? And so the last thing is like, no, you cannot diet and do intuitive eating at the same time. They're incompatible. You can't try to do some kind of, if you want to manage a health condition, you can do it. And you might need support to do it in a way that's not diety. But it's just one of those things that at some point we have to surrender the control. That's the bottom line. And really when we say control, we're not controlling anything anyway. We're just still staying a part of a system. Okay, so I hope that helps you. There will always be barriers. There will always be people who don't get this process because they're too scared of it. There will always be people that just think it doesn't work. And when I ask questions for people that say, well, what doesn't work about it? They haven't read the books, they haven't listened to any podcasts, they haven't consulted any professionals, they haven't gotten curious. So it's like, I don't count that. I do understand that this is a hard thing to wrap your mind around, because people want to look at things in black and white. People don't want to see that if somebody's, let's say, a certain weight, it doesn't mean that every weight on every person is the right place for them. But we start with where we are. We don't, we just don't try to like make assumptions about if people really do the process. If people do this process, they can get better wherever they're starting from. It's just that, like, people like to have conditions on when they start, because really it's still about protecting the vulnerability underneath. So I would love for anyone to comment below what are the barriers that, it's like if they could do X, if somebody could like give me this, or that would be easier, or whatever it is, put those below. I would love to have discussion about that this week. The more examples we do of like typical barriers, the more you can see how overcomable they are with some problem solving. But we often can't get to the problem solving until we get out of the charge of the belief that it's not doable, it's too hard, it's too much. And that's what we'll be talking about on a little bit more on our Wednesday's video, is when we hear that things are too big, too much, not enough, we know we're in a trauma vortex, and we need to create more strategies and a landing pad to get there. And they don't have to be hard, they're certainly free. It's just recognizing that barriers are usually that we don't feel or we don't believe like we have enough that will help us go to the next level. So we need to get really clear about that. Thank you so much for everybody watching this video live. Again, put your comments below so I'd be happy to help you personally with what's appropriate. So thank you for watching. Pass this along to your friends, and I will see you in Wednesday's video. Bye for now.